So the first topic in hand, I believe, comes out of Kansas City, where the situation where a girl, young black girl, was fighting a young white guy, and he repeatedly called her the N word, which I'm pretty sure we all know what that means.
Student facing a felony charge this morning.
This is after calling a black female student the N-word, then attacking her.
And he tries to, well, he didn't try, he assaulted her.
We do want to show you some of the video of that moment of what happened. We have blurred, though, some of the violence. This is in the Shawnee Mission East hallways.
To find out, she'd been suspended for 5 days.
Students tell us they have been frustrated as the district's response and are planning to voice their concerns.
As far as everything's presented, let's start with Brother COMARK. From seeing this, knowing that you have daughters in these situations, how do we come to a better revelation for our students, let alone for our youth?
100 students this past Monday holding a walkout here at Shawnee Mission East, but that's not all they're going to be holding.
Because whether she's black or not, she's still a child. And I don't think she should have to go through this, especially if it's in a racist manner.
Another protest tonight here at Shawnee Mission East. That's going to be at 5:30. But I want you guys to go ahead and take a look here on your screen. So there are some repercussions after this situation.
First of all, where was any of the administrators in the building? Like, there is no teachers. From what I can see from the cameras, there's no teachers. That's the first point I want to make. Nobody tried to stop it. Nobody was there yet. That's the first point. The second thing I want to point out there is, what are we doing? This happens so often in schools across the nation that we need to put something in perspective as, like, these are the rules when you come into these schools. You can't say this. Like, you can't say the N-word. There's no racial anything going on in these schools. If you do it, you're suspended. Your parents have to come up here and, take you out of school for however many days it is. If it happens again, you're suspended again. You do it again, you're expelled. That should be the first thing at hand. And nobody should be able to, as we talked about, be able to come back in the next day and say, hey, I want to fight this suspension. You shouldn't be able to do that. Teachers and principals should be able to put their foot down and say no, because this should not keep happening to people, color, whatever, black, Mexican, white, orange, green, purple, yellow, whatever color you are, it should not keep happening over and over again, because it happens so often throughout the nation that it's becoming to be a habit, and people gets away with it too many times. Second of all, why I get it. She had a fight and she got suspended 5 days, got her nose broken, and
right.
it shouldn't be allowed. So I get the suspension. Second of all, she's trying to break up. From what my understanding is, because I watched another article, I seen another article, something that was going on for days, not days, but like weeks, like a supremacist network telling these racist kids who was going around calling people niggers throughout the school to break it up, and nobody's doing anything. And I think that's the other problem in these schools, that why are kids having to step up in these schools to stop things that are happening? Why aren't anybody else? Why aren't the schools doing anything? And that's the other problem that we're having. Kids and parents are trying to stop things that are happening to their children in schools, and nobody aren't doing anything. And we're failing. We're failing the kids. We're failing the teachers. We're failing the parents. Well, the teachers too. We're failing everybody, and nobody's getting educated.
I like that perspective. Ms. Gigi, I know you have a son that's in high school, and being that we are black, even though that we speak globally, this is a pretty much a black topic. So from a black mom standpoint, even if it was, a son, it could be the same thing, because this is considered a hate crime for sure. So from your perspective, what do you think of this whole situation?
I feel like with the school systems, they have failed tremendously. They took a lot of things out of the resources and things like that out of the schools, which allowed for protection of your children. I feel like they lack the type of qualities they're looking for in the teachers. Like a lot of the teachers that are in the schools, whether it's admin, just your regular teachers or whatnot, they don't have a sole purpose anymore. They're tired. So a lot of them feel like we're underpaid.
Miss
We're
Gigi,
not
Miss Gigi,
doing
hold on,
anything. We a lot of teachers actually have to pay.
Miss Gigi, hold on. You kind of got the matrix going on. Okay, I need you to run that back one more time. I could cut this part out, but yeah, you kind of had the matrix a little bit going on, so I can't hear you. So will you say that again for me one more time?
No, you
I feel
can't hear
like
it.
a lot of the teachers that they have in the school system, you can't hear
Well,
me.
I hear you now. We clear. We clear now. First you had the
Okay.
matrix.
Okay. No, what I was saying is I feel a lot of teachers are not really qualified to be in the seats that they have. And I've learned this, like just looking at some of the situations that I've seen in my son's school. So looking at this, it kind of saddens me that it's the same way around the world. Like the resources they're lacking them tremendously. You probably don't know, but some of the admin in the school, they could be.
Miss Sam, from what you heard based on the article, as an older black woman, and you know the story that came in a situation with a younger black woman. What's your take on this?
All right, so I'm gonna let y'all know right now. This is a trigger for me. Okay, the reason being is, I do have 3 young women, as kids, but I experienced a situation in school. Growing up in the neighborhood that we grew up in, we had black on black, Mexicans, whites, etc. It was segregation. Okay, so we was fights throughout middle school and high school. It's sad to see that, it's sad to see that this is going on, right? Still in 2023, right? I graduated high school in 2004. One, I'm gonna speak on experience. So my incident, I fought the principal, white guy, my senior year of high school. I was valedictorian. They took that status from me. How do you take a status from somebody who earned that? I don't know, but they did. So, he put his hands on me, thinking that I was some rogue kid leaving the school. I don't even know what the situation was. I made this up in my head because still to this day I'm confused on why I had to fight him over me leaving school early to go to work, right?
Right.
But anyways, he was a white guy. He put his hands on me first. I turned around, retaliated because he took me from the back. So growing up in the schools, fighting all the time, when somebody puts their hands on you, you gonna respond, right?
Correct.
So that's what happened.
That's very correct.
Now, at this time, you got a black girl fighting a white principal, older dude, whatever the case may be. And I got suspended. I got sent to an alternative school. Guess what he did? He got to stay his butt in the school with no problem. So I had to get a lawyer, fight all this other stuff. In this situation with her and this young kid, one, she is the aggressor because she walked towards him. Okay. So in my mind, if I'm going to fight somebody, right, you need to be ready. And whether you white or black, it doesn't matter. But the fact that she went and went up into not just his face, but also the other little white girl's face to handle this business, right, that she wanted to do, whatever it is. Evidently, she wanted to be the center of attention because there was cameras rolling. So people knew about it. So I'm not siding with either party, but she was definitely the aggressor in the situation. I understand the conflict between white and black, racism, using the N-word, etc. However, don't put yourself in a position to be where you are now, which is expelled from the school because you were the aggressor in the situation. They can talk all day long. That's what they're going to do. The moment someone puts their hands on you, that's a different story. But you walked up to this person and it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? It's unfortunate that her nose got broken, etc. But she was the aggressor in the situation. Some people are going to like it. Some people aren't. But that's just my opinion based off of my own experience of dealing with something in this situation. I got suspended because I hit back. If I didn't hit him, I wouldn't have got suspended and he would have been handled. But when you put your hands on somebody, how do you expect them not to hit back? That's my question, right? But I don't agree that this is still going on in our schools. This happened back in 2004. It's 2023 and she's experiencing the same thing that I experienced in school, which is black on white crime, racism, etc. It's unfortunately it's never going to go away. Okay, unless all the racist people die, right? Which that ain't happening. At the same time, it's not going away. It's how you handle the situation. And she was the aggressor based off of video, right? What I could see, this is my opinion, based off of the initial video of her talking to the girl, putting her hand out there, and then moving on to the boy, talking about what you say, walking to him. You were the aggressor, period.
Okay, before I get to White, I kind of want to combine. I got a question for you, but I want to combine something from you and Brother COMARK because, and if I say it wrong, Brother COMARK, correct me. Now, earlier when Brother COMARK was talking about this matter, he addressed the fact that she was called the N-word. Is that correct? So, and also, he stated earlier that schools are not implementing a lot of things to secure that situation when it comes to being disrespected as such. So, and go back to your point. Yes, she was the aggressor, and she did press them. But that's why I brought Brother COMARK opinion on this, because some people do get triggered by being called the N-word. And as you look at a lot of bills that have been passed lately, when you see these situations when it comes to us as black people, you don't really see us as being governed under these hate bills to protect us. So from your experience that this happened and being at what you've seen, what would you thought was the best response in this manner?
You talking to me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so in my opinion, just because someone calls you an N-word don't mean that you gotta go and handle business, right? Like that, if you are offended by the N-word every time someone uses it, you have a serious problem. Because to be honest with you, and this would be a whole nother topic and a whole nother hour story if y'all go back and forth. And I'm just being real, because us as black people, we try to make it seem as if we were the ones that experienced what our ancestors experienced, right?
Correct.
I didn't get whipped with a chain. I didn't get tied up. I wasn't used as a slave with a man. So to be to have that N-word trigger you the way that it does a lot of people, I really feel we need to relax a little bit, right? Not relax in the fact to say it's okay for them to use it, but relax as in not being that angry to the point you put yourself in a situation to get into a fight that you can't win, right? And nobody came to your defense at all. So again, using that N-word, she should have left things alone. If you felt that that particular about that situation, and she's younger than us, so you definitely shouldn't be going up to somebody in their face the way that she was about that word. She should have handled it a different way. Hey, sir, ma'am, this man just called us an N-word. It's on video. That's a hate crime. Please handle it. And she is still be in school to this day, and his butt will probably be suspended if they chose to suspend him. But you can't control other people. You never will be able to control someone else's opinion. So to get angry over the N-word, what does that do for you? Not a darn thing.
Just real quick, because White, I got you next. But I have a quick question for everybody because I don't know. I understand what hate crime is and what it means. But from my knowledge, the N-word or anything derogatory towards black is not considered a hate crime, correct?
No.
So that's just what we perceive it to be. So I agree with you for sure, because it's wrong. But I'm just saying, as far as being governed by our government, that's not under there, correct?
No, okay. It's not. A hate crime is basically you go after somebody because of their race, and you choose to do harm to that person based off of, well, okay, I take that back. Because there was an incident in New York recently where a woman, she put her hands on the child. So that made it a hate crime because it was physical, it was physical touch. If she just said what she said, she wouldn't have been charged with a hate crime. But now she has been charged with a hate crime. I think it was New York or something like that, where she actually put physical harm on the child So now it's being tried in the courts as a hate crime. So I think there has to be some type of physical
Yeah.
touch for it to be a hate crime.
Yeah, it has to be. You have to have action toward the word. Like if you call me the N word and physically put hands on me, or like write something like on my car, or break out a window or something like that, then it becomes a hate crime. You can say whatever you want, which is governed by the First Amendment, which is freedom of speech, freedom of press. All that. Is not considered a hate crime. You can say whatever you want, but as long as you don't put your hands on me or do any type of harm to me, there's no such thing as a hate crime.
I'm glad you guys said this, but I'm pretty sure I ran across a story when it came to an Asian being disrespected, and it wasn't no physical assault. I want to bring this subject back later.
Wait. That's because they made it that way after all that stuff with like the coronavirus and things came out for them. Not for us. That was after coronavirus. That didn't have anything to do with us. There's nothing for us.
No, but that's all I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at. Because that bill is still related to what they consider a hate crime over verbal assault. Because remember, that's how they're looking at assault nowadays. You can verbally assault somebody by calling them. I bleep that out, but there's a lot of racist terms that people use that falls under the line of assault. So that's why I asked you guys a question when it comes to the N word. Does that have the same level? So what you guys make perfect sense. I definitely get that, and I appreciate that insight because learning is my burning desire. So thank you guys for that, Mr. White. Based on the article that's at hand and from what you've seen, man, what's your take on this?
You guys brought a lot of light to it. She should have handled it a different way. Most definitely, like the young lady said, she should have definitely ignored it. I grew up in the South, so when I went to high school in Seattle, then I moved to Georgia, so it was totally different. Like I experienced a totally different ball game when I moved back to Georgia. You know what I'm talking about, X.
Yeah, I know.
Being a freshman in Augusta, Georgia, was totally different than being a freshman in Seattle, Washington. So I went from being around a whole bunch of gangs to being around a whole bunch of racist stuff. Excuse my French. So it was totally different. Totally different. I had to learn myself how to ignore it. I had kids coming to school with the Confederate socks on. People don't know nothing about that. I'm like, yo, buddy got the whole Confederate outfit on. Like, and you just gotta ignore that, bro. You gotta they like to say it's Dixie pride. Heritage, but what other war do we honor the loser? Y'all let me know what other war besides the Civil War do we honor the loser?
Honestly, I don't know. Nobody. A loser so ever get honored at all.
That's something they like to. That's something that they like to. That's their heritage that they want to continue to keep on. That's fine. You got to learn to ignore it. You just got to learn to ignore it. That's the best way I can say to do that, especially in this day and age. When I was when I was growing up, everything wasn't on social media, so I grew up with a lot of this stuff.
Yep.
None of that was shed light on none of this. Nowadays, you can't be like this. Everything is a camera everywhere. Somebody heard it. If it's not a camera, somebody recorded it.
Part.
Okay, I like that.
Can I pick back off of him?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
And the thing that gets me is the fact that we have to ignore it, right? I don't want to ignore it, but it's like if you don't ignore it and you bring it to the forefront and you attack the situation, you end up in a situation like she's in, right? And 99% of the time, we are the ones that get the short end of the stick.
That is correct.
Based off of experience, based off of other people that I know that has been in an experience like this, we get the short end of the stick all the time. But you know why? We're not in positions that matter. We're afraid as a culture to be in positions that freaking matter to make the changes that need to be made so we don't have to be uncomfortable with addressing these situations. So that's the problem. But I agree with you. I grew up, I'm from Nebraska, moved to Texas. I got called the N-word when I was in the 6th grade by an assistant principal. I don't know what it is with me and principals, but it is what it is. I don't even know how to got it for me, but yeah, evidently I don't like authority. But yeah, so the assistant principal called me an N-word. when I was in the 6th grade. That was my first time experiencing that. Even being from Nebraska, where people always ask, I didn't know it was black people there. And you're like, what you mean? Is there black people there? So I totally get what you're saying. It's sad that we have to ignore it, but yeah,